Hello everyone, my name is Epa and welcome. Today I have something a bit different from my usual content. This is not a gaming video, this is a tier ranking video. I have seen these types of videos all over YouTube and on various different topics, on various different genres, movies, TV shows, basically everything, and I decided to make my own. So in today's video I will be ranking how to train your dragon species into this tier ranking list. This list can be found on the tier maker. There is a link in the description below if you wish to make your own list. Go ahead, feel free to do it. Basically this list contains about 50 to 60 species, I haven't exactly counted them, and I will be putting every single one of these into this little tier ranking. So we have tiers going S, A, B, C, and D. S being the best and D being the worst. I will be basing my ranking on how well evolved these dragons basically are. Are they adaptable? Are they well suited based on their design, abilities, and just body structure to live? Or are they simply not evolutionary able to exist and would most likely die out should we put them into the real world? Now, I don't want to say that part of this is just my knowledge of the How to Train Your Dragon universe and these dragons' physiology, basically, and part of this is just applying general logic. However, this is of course not 100% accurate, and if you disagree with something, that's totally fine. Write it in the comments, say however you feel. I would be happy to read it. Now, since we do have a lot of dragons to cover, let's just get straight into it. The first dragon on the list is this. I believe this is a Threadtail. Threadtail is a Stalker class dragon that is known for producing venom out of its skin as a defense mechanism. It has bright colors, bright colorations. Usually this resembles poison frogs from the South American continent, which are also very brightly colored to indicate to their predators that I am poisonous, do not touch me. But in general, Threadtail seems like a pretty good dragon. It can defend itself, it can breathe fire, and one would say that it's a good design, a good evolution. However, the Threadtail has a bit of a flaw. It is allergic to its own venom. Unlike poison dart frogs, it is allergic to its own skin, which causes it to usually roll around in mud or in sand or stand in sharp wind or in cold water so as to relieve the itching. And when you're a dragon that has to hunt and defend its territory and find a mate and stay away from any dangers, constantly having to deal with an irritating rash and scratching is not exactly desirable. Which is why, in my opinion, this is a C tier. Basically, the list goes as S in perfectly evolved and D in this thing would go extinct. C tier, it's not exactly good, but it's not this thing would go extinct. It's just it can be improved a lot, which is why I would put it into the C tier. Again, as I said a few minutes ago, if you disagree, no need to fight, hate, just write in the comments your own opinion. Again, I would love to read them. Next up, we have a Nightterror. Nightterrors are also Stalker class dragons, and they live in packs because they are very small and practically defenseless themselves. So they live in huge packs and they have one alpha. The alpha is usually white, as we have seen with Garfield in Race to the Edge. And the problem here is that while they have their alpha, the Nightterrors are basically completely safe because they flock around, they create a giant shape of another dragon, and they use it as a defense mechanism. However, on their own, Nightterrors are basically free food for anything that is bigger than them. They can't defend, they have pretty weak firepower, and they are not exactly the most intelligent of dragons either. That is why I will put them into the C tier as well. I don't think that a species is very efficient as a species if they can only survive when they have something supervising them, basically. Not supervising them, but basically watching over them and controlling them, because if you want your species to live, you should be able to at least survive on your own for longer than 5 minutes. Next up, Fireterrors. Fireterrors are basically like a subspecies of Nightterrors, not a full subspecies, but similar to a subspecies. They live inside a volcano, and we have seen them in Race to the Edge episode where the Eruptodon has laid an egg, and the egg has to be carried to the volcano to be hatched. Now, these Fireterrors are very well adapted to heat. They can survive the heat of lava and magma, and they do live in sort of a symbiosis with Eruptodons, because while the Eruptodon may not be able to always carry the egg, the Fireterrors, as was seen on the cave walls, help the egg hatch and care for it. Which is why I think that this species, which by the way does not rely on an alpha to survive, they can fight perfectly well on their own, I actually think that these are an A tier. Next is Singetail. Singetail, another Stalker class dragon. These dragons are large, aggressive, and can breathe fire out of almost every part of their body. Their mouth, their tail, and their underbelly, making them practically impossible to sneak on. They have eyes that can rotate independently, which means that one eye can look up left, other eye can be looking directly to the right, and it's very, very hard to sneak up on this dragon. They also breed very, very quickly, as we have seen in the last season of Race to the Edge. These dragons lay massive amounts of eggs in a very short period of time, which means that killing them all would be a bit difficult, you could say. Since it's a hot-headed dragon that can very easily fight for itself, I am putting this onto the A tier as well. I don't think it's a perfect dragon, actually, maybe it even is. You know what, I'm actually putting this into the S tier. I think that this dragon could actually basically be on top of the food chain at all times, and not suffer any consequences, you could say. I definitely see this as an apex design. Next up, we have the Gobsocker. Gobsocker was only seen in the live spectacular How to Train Your Dragon show, which I unfortunately did not see. According to the wiki page, they are a Stalker class dragon which cannot shoot fire from its mouth, but only from its tail, or the rear end as it is said there. It emits a sort of a flammable gas which then lights up, and once it lights up it helps them take off, fly straight, and also as a means of offense or defense, depending on if it's fighting an opponent or defending from something. Since these dragons cannot breathe fire from their mouths, that gives them a large disadvantage. Since sneaking up on this dragon is not very easy or smart, however, if they have multiple opponents, they can't face them all from behind, and they have to keep an eye on them all, which puts them kind of in a tough spot. So since they can't really fight very efficiently, and also once they run out of gas and need to recharge, they can't even fly, which makes them very vulnerable since they are dragons. So I believe that this dragon is a B tier. They are capable of defending themselves, they are not helpless. Even without their fire, they still have sharp teeth and claws and a pretty armored muscular body. However, because they are unable to fly without their fire and need to wait to recharge, and also can only breathe fire from their tails, not their mouths, that is a B tier in my opinion. Next we have the Shadowwings, or we have the large Shadowwing and the smaller Shadowwing. Now, for the smaller Shadowwing, I am definitely going to put them into the S tier. Why? Because these dragons can survive on their own without actually the need to be with a larger Shadowwing. It is a symbiotic relationship to a sort, but only the larger Shadowwing really benefits from it. The small Shadowwings didn't benefit from it, they don't lose from it, they're just kind of there helping. They live in packs, they are highly intelligent, and even on their own they do pose a large threat and aren't just really easy to take down. That is why I'm definitely putting them into the S tier, because unlike the Nightterrors, on their own they can survive really well and won't just simply be eaten like the Nightterrors. However, the large Shadowwing, while it is larger and therefore more dangerous, definitely more dangerous, it can't really survive without the help of small Shadowwings, and it relies on them to help it survive and guard territory and possibly even hunt. It is still able to fend for itself, just not as well. That is why I think that this dragon should go into the B tier. Not really A tier, but not C tier either. I'm going to put it into B tier. That's a B tier for me. Alright, next over here we have the Red Death from How to Train Your Dragon, and also we seem to have another Red Death from, but it's not actually Red Death, this is Green Death from School of Dragons. Green Death is sort of like a less aggressive version of Red Death. Both of these dragons, in appearance, they're almost identical. The Green Death is slightly less red. It has, I believe it has less these red little bumps, but they still have this. They have 6 eyes. They have these growths. Not growths. They're just like plates. You could call them. Let's call them plates. On their back, they have a very large head and very powerful jaws. A bludgeoned tail, massive legs, and are overall pretty much death machines should you come across one. For me, I believe that they should both go into the same tier. They don't really differ that much, only the Green Death, it's less aggressive, although it is still a very aggressive dragon. For me, they are not S tier because they usually rely on having a whole pack of dragons to bring it food. However, they could hunt from themselves. In the School of Dragons, the Green Death survived basically on its own, as we did not see other dragons around Dragon Island, or at least not as many dragons as there were in How to Train Your Dragon. So I'm going to put both of these into A tier because they are very powerful on their own. However, relying on your pack basically to feed you all day it's not exactly effective. Once the dragons go, what will you do? How will you hunt when you are a giant 400-foot long dragon? Okay, next we have the Gronkel, one of the most common species of dragon, boulder class and rather small compared to some other species. These dragons are playful and lovable, as shown in Race to the Edge once trained, of course, while Gronkels are not to be messed with. They have very powerful jaws, very large jaws as well, huge fangs, and they are very well armored with a bludgeoned tail, and their skin is incredibly tough, almost unpierceable. However, what matters me with these dragons are their wings. They have very small wings, and they have to constantly beat with them in order to stay in the air, which does not make them very fast or very maneuverable. That is why I believe Gronkels should be B tier, because even though they can fly, they're not the best flyers, and it was shown in multiple Race to the Edge and Riders of Berk episodes, and Defenders of Berk as well, that Gronkels are very slow, and that is often a disadvantage. Alright, next up, Monstrous Nightmare. Storker class dragon, also one of the most common species. These dragons are very hot-headed, and they are incredibly fiery, quite literally. They can breathe fire and they can light up on fire because they produce a special sort of mucus. Is it mucus? It's technically called Monstrous Nightmare Gel, which once it comes in contact with heat or sparks, it lights up. And that is how they coat themselves in it, and then they light up as a defense mechanism, as an intimidation technique, and are very offensive and aggressive dragons. Since they do have very large wings, they possess powerful legs, powerful jaws. I believe these dragons are S tier. They are on top of the food chain. Nothing really eats monstrous nightmares. They can fight, they can communicate well, they do live in packs, and yeah, they're just pretty much a really well designed species. Alright, so I slightly miscalculated myself. I did not expect this video to be so long. I honestly have over an hour and a half of footage. So I decided to split this video into several parts, and this is part 1. I will be approximately splitting it up among dragon classes. I say approximately because it won't be strictly dragon classes. As you can see, we mostly did Stoker class today, but there's also a Grunkle, which is a Boulder class dragon, so it is going to be about 10 dragons per episode, 10 to 15 depending on from episode to episode, and this is episode 1. I will try to get all of the tier ranking videos out as soon and as fast as possible, because I really do want to get these videos out. I'm going to be editing them, and I will be uploading one video every couple of days, so it will mostly be 2 videos per week. If I don't have time, then it will be 1 video per week, but I hope to get 2 videos per week, so we can get all of the videos out in a matter of less than a month. Now, I do have a question for you. Several months ago, I made a trailer for the Above the Skies documentary series that I plan on doing, and now with the proper equipment, I'm actually finally ready to start on this documentary. However, I do not know yet which dragon I want to do an episode on, so please leave me your suggestions in the comments and tell me which dragon you would like to see a documentary on. And with that, we have come to the end of today's video. I want to thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, feel free to leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you can let me know that you actually liked the video, share it, and support me and the channel by doing so. Thank you so much, and I hope I'll see you next time. So long.